It's April 17th, 2017. We're finally in April for our podcast. This is the Prattlecast with Shake and Razzle, episode 57, and we're coming right off the heels of a Star Wars celebration weekend. And how goes you, Shake?
Well, we should address why we haven't been here.
Okay, we could do that. Sure, why not?
Basically, life fucked us. Both had some internet issues and some weather issues over the past 2 weeks, and it just didn't work out so well.
Yeah, there was some tornadoes, and then of course the internet over here fell out. And I actually called the internet customer service. I had a very interesting back and forth with their agent when I called there, to report my internet being out so they could run their test and do their professional things. And I'm on the phone with this guy, and he's doing something, and out of nowhere he asks me, "Hey, have you seen John Wick?" And I was sitting here like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Just in the middle of your internet discussion?
Well, I mean, we weren't even really having a discussion anymore because he was running tests on his computer. And so he's like, "Hey, have you seen John Wick?" I was sitting here like, it took me a minute to realize he was asking me, had I seen a movie? I didn't know where this came from.
Like he was talking to you?
Yeah. And so I said, no, I haven't seen John Wick. What I really wanted to say was, I can't really watch anything right now because I can't stream my fucking Netflix. Fix my goddamn internet. But no, he said, this was the most bizarre part of this conversation with him, is when he said that, and then right after I said no, he said, "Oh, well, it was really good." And I was sitting here like, what, are you on their payroll or something? Why are you shilling out a John Wick movie that has nothing to do? This is tech support. And shortly after this, like this 5 or 10 second pause right after he said it was a good movie, and he said, and I'll never forget this, he said, "I highly recommend it." And I was sitting here like, who the hell are you, and why do I care what movie you recommend? I don't know you. You don't know me. You don't know what my taste in movies is. You don't know if I'll like it or not. You highly recommend it. Well, thank you, Siskel. I'll take that into advisement.
It's like, oh, I forgot. Your opinions are really important. I must trust yours and go watch this movie now.
Can you see me recommending this on a movie night and be like, well, where did you hear about this movie? Oh, well, my tech support agent said he highly recommended it, so I figured it would be good.
I would have told you no. I would have been like, no, that's not enough reason for me to watch John Wick. Sorry, because the tech guy.
But hey, for those of you who haven't seen it, apparently it's really good, and a random tech support agent working for an internet company that has broken the internet over here at least twice in the last month recommends it, so therefore I suggest you check that out.
Yeah, John Wick. I know Keanu Reeves is in it.
I thought it was a Tom Cruise movie.
John Wick is a Keanu Reeves film.
Oh. See, I thought it was Tom Cruise, so what do I know?
Yeah, no, that's they made a second one.
A second one.
A second John Wick.
Well, they're making an 8th Star Wars?
Well, you know what's weird? That was a good segue, and I was gonna tell you about an experience I had on the phone with somebody, because you made me think of it. So we're gonna go into Star Wars, but I feel I need to share this.
You know what? I'm only gonna let you share this if you have an equally good segue to get us out of it and back on Star Wars. So
I'm gonna
go
try.
ahead and share. Go ahead.
I'm gonna try.
I gotta hear this now.
So I got a phone call. And I should have known not to answer it because I didn't know the number. Naturally, it's a bill collector. It's for because at my old job you could buy stuff through work and they just take it out of your paycheck. Well, I left that job, so I still owed, and I know I owe. I'm just, I don't have it right now. So this woman calls me. She's like, "Oh, you're so and so. You work here," and I'm like, "Well, I don't work there anymore. I haven't worked there in about 8 months." She's like, "Oh, you're delinquent on this account." And I was like, "Yes, I haven't worked there in 8 months. I moved, I had stuff to do." I was like, I have every intention of paying this because they can look at your credit report and see all the other things you've paid, and I've paid off almost everything. So I'm just like, all right. I was like, yes, I have every intention of paying it. She wanted to set up a payment plan. I was like, all right, I'm going to do like $50 a month. Let's keep it small so I can live. Oh, I can't do that for you, ma'am. Okay, how much do you propose? Well, we would like $100 a month. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not doing it. So then she starts telling me, she's like, well, did you do your taxes yet? And I was like, what? Yes. Well, then you should have some money from your taxes. I don't understand why you can't pay it. And she starts going after me about how I should have used all of my tax money to pay this thing and not have paid anything else. And she's telling me how my life should be lived. And I was like, I know, and I find you to be extremely rude, telling me what to do with my money. And she's like, well, this debt needs to be paid or it's leaving this office. I was like, well, the bill collectors won't bother me the way you are, so just send it off to them. That's fine. You can send it off. This is the last time I'll probably ever have to deal with you. So just send it. And then
they send it, that's gonna hit your credit,
I'd rather it hit my credit than deal with this woman who's like yelling at me about how to do my taxes and where my tax money should have gone, not knowing my life at all, just assuming that I should have thrown. It's $300. It's such a small amount of money. I'm not worried about it. Send it to the bill collectors. They'll let me do $50 a month and not like $100. She was fucking crazy.
Okay, so how are you going to segue out of this?
You didn't care. You know what?
I
share my
do,
life.
but I don't see how this is going to take us anywhere.
Oh, see, because where I was going to end was this is the last time I'm going to have to deal with her. And like we were coming up on the Last Jedi movie. I'm not good at segues.
Okay.
But I felt like you were venting, so I was like, I'm going to vent too, and I'm sure other people have dealt with this before, and I'm sorry, I'm not good at it.
Okay, well, that's our detour for this morning. Thank you for joining us for the Prattlecast.
You know what? I was just sharing, because that was some bullshit.
Well, there's a lot of stuff.
You know what else is bullshit? In the Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer, it looks like Kylo ruined his mask.
I don't care about Kylo. I don't care about Kylo. Why are we talking about... I don't want to talk about Kylo. I mean, he's only in the trailer for a split second.
And we're going to talk about that split second because, God damn it, you're my friend, and you should respect the things I love.
Well, hold on. No, we need to start at the beginning.
Okay, what's the beginning? I can't remember.
The beginning. It has Rey.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like she's coming out of a cave, which I'm wondering if that's going to be like on Dagobah with Luke in the cave.
That's what I thought. Is that reminiscent of that time where he's like, yo, breathe. We're going to go through this.
She saw some crazy shit. She's over there gasping for air. So what is going on there? That's all I'm saying. There's something going on. Yeah. This is quite an analysis.
Well, I mean, she's obviously being trained by Luke Skywalker.
She actually did say something at the celebration. The only thing she revealed about the movie is that Rey meets Luke, and sometimes meeting your heroes isn't always how you expect. Like it doesn't always go the way you would expect.
Yeah. Well, she also they also confirmed that this movie will address Rey's parentage.
Her origin will be addressed in this, yes.
So we're going to find out what the fuck happened to her family or who they are.
They're probably Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jar Jar Binks.
Rey looks gorgeous for who she was given as parents. Looks nothing like Jar Jar.
And who else was at celebration that was pretty surprising? It was Hayden Christensen. He
went?
Yeah, he did a panel with is it Ian McDermott who played Palpatine, or who played Palpatine? I
have no idea who played.
I didn't have anything prepared for this Prattlecast with the Star Wars stuff, so I'm just kind of going based on memory here. But yeah, I saw briefly they did a talk together, and Harrison Ford was there.
He has to be. He's required.
He's not required to go to Star Wars Celebration.
Is required.
In fact, that people for years have talked about how he didn't like Star Wars or how he didn't like working on Star Wars. But my whole thing on that is, if that's true, I doubt he would have gone back to it even for a payday. And I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have gone to Star Wars Celebration. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure Harrison Ford could do without being in Star Wars movies if he hated them that much. It's Harrison Ford.
And he even told a
Like,
story of how he basically got into acting thanks to George Lucas, and how he mentioned he was fixing a door, and this was after he had done American Graffiti with George Lucas, but apparently he was fixing a door in the office next to George Lucas, and so George Lucas and two other people were there, and they had Harrison there, and so they apparently either asked him to come in or something. I don't know. You'd have to go back, watch the panel for yourself to get all the details. I saw it a couple of days ago. It was very enlightening, but nowhere near as good as the panel that Mark Hamill did. He did a tribute to Carrie Fisher, and it was an hour long, and it's on YouTube. And he shares some stories about Carrie from the set and how they first met, and some of the just what their camaraderie was like behind the scenes, and some stuff that they did together that was outside of the movies, and just some interesting stuff like that.
I don't want to see that. That's sad.
No, it was actually really good.
So it wasn't like really depressing.
Well, no, I think, and with Mark Hamill out there, just kind of, I think he looked at it as a chance for something therapeutic because he wanted to talk about her, and he does so with a lot of charm and grace, and it's very humorous. Like he'll tell the stuff that's funny behind the scenes and such. So, but he also mentions. I mean, you could tell by the way he speaks of her and their time together that he definitely admired her and loved her very much, and they were very good friends.
Oh, that hurts my soul. Ouch. Well,
And Kathleen Kennedy said that one of the last times she had seen her was when she went to go show her a scene they had done out of one of the movies, and she said that Carrie said to her, I think Harrison really doesn't like what I said. And I think they were referring to the bit in her book where she reveals the affair she had with Harrison Ford.
oh.
I think Harrison's really mad at me.
Well, I mean, he very well could be.
I mean, he might have been, but I doubt he cares anymore. I mean,
yeah.
But
It's Harrison Ford. He doesn't need to care.
Billy D. Williams was there.
Who's Billy D. Williams? Who is that?
It's Lando.
Oh, I don't know people's real names.
Lando Calrissian.
I saw a comic book recently that's apparently Lando has his own comic series.
I hope so. He needs one.
Yeah, it's like him all like splayed out on the cover, and it's just like Lando across the top.
Well, how do you feel about because they're making the young Han Solo movie, and it's going to have a young Lando Calrissian, of course, played by the guy who was in Community. I just forgot his name.
Is it Donald Glover?
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's the right name.
I think it's Donald Glover.
Names. I think that's right. He's the guy from Community. Glover. That's how I know him.
I don't know anything about Community, but I'm pretty sure it's Donald Glover. Based on what I know, that is correct to me.
But yeah, I think that's a good choice. I
mean, I don't. It's weird. I don't have an interest in the Han Solo movie.
I do.
Like, I want to see it, but I know it's not young Harrison Ford.
Well, no, I mean.
So I'm hurt a little bit. That's all. I have wants and needs, and I know it won't be perfect, but I'll still see it to get a more in-depth look into Han Solo's life.
Well, first you need to watch Rogue One, of course.
Yes, I have to get to that. It just needs to come out on Amazon or Netflix, and I'm all about it.
Well, it's not technically on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon, but it's a decent film. You should rent it sometime. It'll be nice. But those are all the Star Wars films, and of course we still have the trailer to talk a little bit about. Was there anything about the trailer that stood out to you as, oh wow, that's interesting, or oh my god, what's going on?
Yeah. Luke saying that the Jedi must come to an end.
I don't know how I feel about what they're doing with Luke, because I don't even know what they're doing with Luke.
Well, I did read something that when that the writer director, I don't know his name, it's something Johnson, Johnson. He said that The Last Jedi, that title is singular, it is not plural.
Oh.
And that it refers strictly to Luke Skywalker. And he thinks it's very funny that people are wondering that, because he's like, oh, I never even thought it was a question. It's Luke Skywalker, because they were saying that in The Force Awakens he's going to find the Last Jedi temple, and Luke is the Last Jedi.
Oh,
So
okay.
when he's saying the Jedi needs to come to an end, he's talking about himself.
He thinks it should just die with him.
Yeah, like he
I don't
doesn't.
know what happened to Luke. I'm a little. See, this
I
is
need
where
to
I'm
know what
kind of.
happened in the in between because he seems so like when they show that brief shot of Rey learning how to use a saber, and you see him back there, he's just like a hunched up. He's like he's a husk of himself is how he comes off.
His robes look like they've been all torn up.
Yeah.
He looks rough. And I'm sitting here like, this, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if I like what they're doing with Luke.
But isn't
But
that kind of how Yoda could be seen as being at the end? But Yoda was like proud of what
no,
he
I
was
mean,
doing. He
Yoda
wasn't trying to
was,
make things end. He was just like, oh,
no.
I got a new Jedi here. Well, let me get on your back. Let's go for a ride, son.
Well, with Yoda kind of knew what he was there to do. He put himself in that position so that he would be ready to help train the person who could go out and face off against Palpatine or
Yeah.
Vader or whoever. Same as Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Yeah. Obi-Wan had
Even though
purpose too.
I think personally that having seen all of the films now, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda could have easily taken Palpatine and Vader. I mean, Obi-Wan did defeat Vader
Yep.
the first time, and then Yoda did face against Palpatine. They faced off. It kind of, I don't really remember how it ended. I think it might have been more of a draw between the two of them. But I think if they hit him again, they would have won. But instead, they went off and became hermits, and became older and weaker and.
But they were still very much proud of what they were and wanted to teach. It seems like Luke's not. He's obviously not happy. He does not seem like he's in a good place, and he's been through some shit.
And that's the problem that I have with it so far, is that I have a very specific view of Luke Skywalker, and they're completely messing with my mind here. So I don't even know if I'm going to like the movie.
Wasn't Luke, in the in-between, wasn't he running a school to train Jedi?
That's from the expanded universe. None of that counts anymore.
So we don't, but okay. But there's a chance that could be in here.
I mean, there's a chance for anything, but I mean, they pretty much said, expanded universe is not canon anymore.
Okay.
So none of that stuff matters.
I was saying, like, maybe that could have thrown him over the edge to be like, well, why do I bother? Like, but it still seems like he's in a place where he's like, well, I don't see a point in this anymore.
Well, I guess my whole thing on this is that whenever I think of Luke Skywalker, for me, some of the most important elements of him was that he did embody a very youthful look, and I'm not just talking about his age, but an almost innocent view of other people, and that he fought to save Vader. He didn't want to fight Vader. He didn't want to kill Vader. He wanted to save Vader.
Yep.
And that, to me, that embodies who Luke Skywalker is. So clearly, things can happen to people to make them change, but I'm just not sure if I'm down with what they're doing here. I was okay with what they did with Han Solo and Leia because they were both still very true to who they were. Even though they didn't have those many years together where they were just, they might have had a few years there, but they didn't end up together forever. Like I think a lot of people would have loved for them too, but they still stayed true to their characters. With Luke, I don't know what's going on, so I'm going to watch the movie, and then I'll have a better idea.
Yeah. But what else did I had something written here. I'm scrolling through my notes here. Oh, okay. There's an article I had read through IGN. Let me open this up here. That it kind of talks about their thoughts on what he means by that, why he wants the Jedi to end.
Sure.
So I thought it was interesting, and it opens up some thought. So it says that his entire life, Luke's, has been defined by the struggle between light and dark, which seems to be the case for most Jedi and Sith. They all seem to struggle with that.
Sure.
And his place on that scale. Now, it seems that Luke doesn't seem to be shifting along the scale so much as jumping off of it and telling Rey how badly made it is. So he sees the scale and he doesn't like how it is.
That actually could make a lot more sense because the fact that he was the only Jedi who wanted to redeem Vader, whereas all the other ones clearly wanted to kill him. Like Yoda,
right.
I think even Yoda said the words, "Once the dark side has a hold of you, it'll never let you go."
But
And
but to want, but it almost seems like if we're trying to look at this in the way Luke might be seeing it, is that because all those Jedi wanted to kill the Siths and he wanted to save them, that maybe the Jedi aren't as light as they make themselves out to be, that they also are riding a very dark balance by wanting to kill instead of save.
Rogue One, I don't want to talk too much about it, but Rogue One is one of the first movies in Star Wars that kind of portray the rebellion as not just pure good. They show that there is some corruption going on in that organization as well, which would make sense anytime you have any organization or any type of movement. You're going to have some corruption there. You're going to have some ineptitudes. So, yeah, and I think it's very obvious to anybody who's seen the prequels that the Jedi Order has a lot of fucking flaws.
Yeah,
So
it is not a full group of these great people. I mean, they do want to do bad things sometimes because even though you're fighting bad guys, you know, to condemn them all and not have a thought of like, oh, well, how can we fix this? That kind of puts you on, it makes you a little wishy-washy.
now to go in line with that, if Luke tried to restart a Jedi Order, it's unlikely he would have brought in anything from the old Jedi Order because he wasn't there at the time, and most of what he knows about the Force, he didn't really have a lot of training, let's be honest.
No, I'll come back later. I'll
And
see you later.
we had a little bit of training with Yoda, a very small amount of training with Obi-Wan. So his
Yeah.
understanding of the Force is still very basic.
He did have, I mean, could you say that though the two people that trained him are some of the most influential Jedis?
Well, sure, but I mean, Obi-Wan trained Anakin for years, and Anakin was, well, of course, I think Anakin was a lost cause from the get-go,
Yeah.
whereas Luke actually had good in him.
Right.
Anakin seemed just to be an arrogant little snot, and Luke, on the other hand, even though, he wasn't just pure good, but he was a good guy. He was a guy who wanted to help people. He wanted to save the galaxy. He put his life on the line to go out and defeat the Death Star. So the idea of him creating an order, a new Jedi Order, and trying to steer young people who aren't as good as him and don't have that benefit of the doubt already inside of their mind, it's very easy to see how some of those students could have become corrupted because they're not like Luke. Or maybe they didn't catch on as fast as Luke. Or maybe they weren't as good, so they just easily corrupted themselves, and then you have a bunch of frickin' Kylo Rens running around. But I don't know.
Yeah, but there's it goes on to explain that it feels as though it's not the dark side but the balance that Luke has come to rail against. The boom and bust spiritual economics that leads to all these gosh darn Star Wars in the first place. By removing the Jedi from the equation, the Sith loses its biggest recruitment drive, and in theory, the conflict that comes from the two clashing, or more insidiously, each side encouraging others to clash, as was the case in the first two trilogies, it would come to an end.
Well, I think, you had that whole balance of the Force prophecy bullshit from the from the prequels that seems to have played out in the original trilogy where, Vader picks up Palpatine and throws him off into that reactor core and brings balance to the Force or whatever, but
if we just eliminate it, then
maybe that is why
then
Luke
then
goes
it
off
could
to his own.
yeah it could get, if we get rid of the Jedi, if we get rid of these reasons to fight each other, maybe it stops. Maybe it ends. Maybe the Sith have no reason to do what they're doing anymore, which they'll find a reason. Bad guys always do. But
And let me, in going in line with that, one of the things I'd be okay with if they're going this route is if they want Luke to be more of a gray Jedi or like a neutral Jedi or even a fallen Jedi or whatever the hell.
yeah,
If they at least give him that moment of redemption, the same way you had with Vader, where he can finally, maybe he sees through Rey that, there can be good, there can be, this triumph over evil, that it's not all useless, that it wasn't all in vain, that, there was a reason for these things.
well,
But
I mean, it could go even. His reasoning could go even deeper. It could be more of a personal thing rather than thinking of the world as a whole. Like, if you think about it, without the Jedi, his father might not be a dead maniac. And if you go into the extended universe, his crop of trainees might not have been massacred by his own nephew. He might, like he might not have ended up having a fucked up fake hand. Maybe he just doesn't want anybody else to get caught up in the cycle that the Force seems to bring people into.
Maybe.
It could be as simple as that. But what they were saying here is that, like, where's my next thing? Why is this not open now? Okay. That, the Star Wars universe runs on a system of yin and yang, essentially, right? Can we agree on that? Like, you need to have the light and dark, each powering each other.
Yeah, I mean, with the Force, sure,
Yeah.
I think that's right. I can't remember.
That's just how their world works. They have the Jedi and they have the Sith. They have this quote-unquote balance. And now all of that is being brought into question. And what they're saying is that Luke is embracing a new philosophy, that there is no meaning in an endlessly chaotic universe other than the one that you create. Because he does say at the end of the trailer, I only know one truth. It's time for the Jedi to end.
Fair enough, and I think that's a very good theory.
It's really interesting. Like, I was just like, oh, okay. And then they just share this last bit here. It makes for an interesting comparison point with The Empire Strikes Back. Yoda's self-imposed exile seemingly only strengthened his belief in the Jedi, and that rubbed off on his Padawan. Luke's ruminations while on his island have clearly given him space to think beyond simple Jedi concerns, because he states to Rey it's so much bigger than that when she's talking about how she's seeing light and dark and balance. Who knows what that means for Rey and her training? She might be training to fight like a Jedi, but what will she be fighting for? There are counterparts, of course. Theories about Luke becoming a gray Jedi, as you stated, one who utilizes both sides. And they've been popping up ever since The Force Awakens, I guess. People have been talking about that possibly being what he's doing now. There's also a readopted idea from George Lucas's original trilogy plans, which is the Wills, which is deeply Force-connected, possibly immortal beings that were said to embrace the whole spectrum of the Force. Perhaps Luke wants to end the Jedi in order to restart the Order of the Wills. And,
who knows? I mean, everything is going to be speculation, but with that speculation, there's obviously room for a lot of great ideas. Yeah. And you just got to wonder which one they go with as they're forming this idea for their new trilogy. But right. I mean, I just hope, my only hope is this, is just that they stay true to the character of Luke Skywalker no matter what they do. And give us Luke. Show us Luke. And I don't mean like the Luke from the other movies, but rather just show us who he is, make sure this is fitting within the lore and canon, and make sure you don't go crazy with it. Just give us a Luke. Show us Luke, because we need Luke.
I mean, like, I could see him, looking at the world as being bigger than all of that. Like, once he has that time alone to really look at, like, how the dark side works, how the Jedi have worked, how that balance works, and for him to be able to be like, well, let's try to look at the bigger picture. How can I make this world better? Because I could see Luke thinking that way, being like, how can we make all this shit stop? Like, how can we make the world a better place? And maybe he wants to abandon everything. We know that he's referring to himself as the Last Jedi and that it needs to end. But I don't know. It all just seems very dark. Like, he's gone to a very dark place to me.
Who knows? I certainly don't. Nobody does. Yet. But we will soon.
Yeah, and I will say one thing I thought that I liked a lot about the trailer, and it's just maybe because I'm 13 inside still, I don't know, is I like how it looks like we're going to have a lot more action sequences. Like, we had a lot of fights in the last one, but, like, I wanted to see more, like, vehicle fights and, like, fighting in the air and stuff like that.
You should watch Rogue One.
Yeah, but I think we're going to see a lot more of that in this, and I'm really excited. We saw the Millennium Falcon for a second. which would make me believe that Chewie is still going to be here.
Oh, yeah, Chewie's got to be there.
We're still going to have him because now he's got Rey to take care of. And Rey and probably Flynn or Finn, whatever his name is. I think it's his name, Flynn?
It's Finn.
Finn.
Shake.
No. Sorry. Fuck. I only watched this movie once.
Oh, my goodness.
I have to watch it a second time, though. I've been meaning to. I got to get there and see it again. But I want to see more air fights. I want to see more fights, and it looks like I'm going to get that. We saw, like, just the briefest glimpse of Princess Leia.
Who will not be in the last movie, as they've confirmed. So I know there was a theory that, or a rumor, they had talked about bringing in some of her clips into the last film, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. They say, no, she's not going to appear at all in the last movie. So that'll be that. So who knows what happens.
Well, there was something else Star Wars related to be brought up.
Well, I've got a couple of things Star Wars related, I suppose.
And you forgot the Battlefront 2 business.
That's what I was about to bring up, Shake.
I know.
Ooh.
I figured.
Battlefront
I know you.
2.
Mm-hmm.
They've announced it. They've shown us a trailer. They talked a little bit about what's going to be in this game, and it has me very excited. I put in a lot of good hours, at least about 50 or 60 or 70 hours or so in Battlefront. And so Battlefront 2 will be coming out this year on November 17th, but it says here EA Access members will probably be playing it a week early, and if you pre-order, I think you get in like 3 days early. Yeah, that'll be the week before Thanksgiving. I think that was when they launched in 2015, was around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they did. I remember playing it around that time.
Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, they've got all kinds of good stuff here. The biggest thing I'm excited about is they'll have some prequel era stuff. And that includes Darth Maul, and it looks like Yoda, and battle droids.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm hoping they've got some Gungan warriors in there, but I'm not going to hold my breath. What? And I think, though, they might have some really cool vehicles in this, too. I think I've heard a rumor, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard a rumor that the new Fighter Squadron mode will have up to, let me make sure this is right, I think they said about, was it 20 bots or was it more than that? 20 or 40 bots, and then you'd have like the actual 12 versus 12 gameplay or something like that, but then you have all these bots flying around, so it makes it even more chaotic, and they'll be in space.
They have a release date.
Yeah, November 17th.
Yep, and subscribers will be able to play November 9th.
Yeah, and if you pre-order, regardless of whether you're a subscriber or not, if you pre-order, you can get that 3-day early pass, and so you can be playing on Tuesday instead of Friday.
Yep, November 14th, you'll be able to do it. But that's only if you get the deluxe edition.
True.
That's not just for the regular pre-order. It's for the deluxe edition pre-order only.
You know, if you're a Battlefront fan, you're going to get the deluxe edition. So I just assumed that the audience there was going to get the deluxe edition.
It comes with a few things. It comes with the 3-day head start. It comes with upgraded versions of all 4 trooper classes. You get 4 epic ability upgrades for each class. Instant weapon uplocks for each class. And then the rest of the things are also in the standard edition. You get Kylo Ren and Rey themed looks.
From the new movie, The Last Jedi.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting.
So they're going to do classes this time around. So they're going to have 4 classes, I believe. So you'll have different classes for different
Officer, Assault, Heavy, and Specialist.
Yeah, and I don't think they've revealed too many details about what each one is.
Nope.
But I'm assuming that one of them will probably be more of a long-range type of thing, and one of them will be more short-range. I'm wondering if the officer is going to be the one with the blaster. I don't really care which one I play as long as I get myself a hand blaster, because I love the hand blaster in that game, or at least the first one.
Yeah, I want to know what all these epic ability modifiers are going to be, which they're not talking about.
Well, I mean, as you level up your character in the game, because I mean, that's basically what you're doing this time around. Is you'll have a character, you level them up with skills, you make them so that you can actually make them pretty powerful, and so they can even hold their own against, possibly even hero characters or whatever, depending on how far you want to take it. But I think the most excitement I'm going to get out of it is going to be vehicle combat again, because I loved Fighter Squadron. I loved being in an X-wing fighter and just fighting those nasty Imperials and shooting them out of the sky. That's my jam.
Yeah, I want to be Kylo Ren.
Of course
and
you
I
do.
want to be Darth Maul.
Of course you do.
You know, I have needs, but you'll get epic ability modifiers for Kylo and for Rey, and another modifier for the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, you'll be able to
in
unlock the new Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, those are in the regular pre-order. But the original things I listed are all deluxe edition only. But we don't know if people who just get the game normally will even have those modifiers. They might not have them. That would be a very unfair advantage, and I don't think it would be wise to do that to players. But
well, here's my thing. I don't really care how they handle the game going forward, except for one huge problem I have with the first one, and that is don't put maps behind a paywall. Don't put game modes behind a paywall. If you want people to, because I mean, I think with EA you've got one of two options. Either you're going to go heavy DLC or you're going to go with microtransactions. And I don't really care which mode they go with, as long as the DLC is not required to play game modes, because that just fractures the community. I don't think they want to do that again. They've kind of mentioned as such that they're not going to do a season pass or whatever. But I don't have a problem with microtransactions. Like if people want to buy shit to upgrade their character to do it faster, I don't care about that. That's fine. You know, EA's got to have their fucking money grubbing whatever in the game. I accept that. I'm fine with what they did with Mass Effect multiplayer. Don't care about that either. That's perfectly fine. Just don't put game modes or maps behind a paywall, because it fractures the community. And as long as they don't do that, I'll be fine.
Yeah, but well, they've said there will be no season pass, so we're not gonna have to deal with that again. Because I didn't even bother with the season pass in the last one. I was like, nope, I'm not paying more money for fucking game content. I wasn't
going to buy it when it was $50. No, but I did buy it when it was a lot cheaper than that.
Which is fine. Like, but you want me to spend $50 on more? You want me to buy another game that's just content that goes in this game? That's stupid to me. I don't like anything that does season passes. I've never been a fan of it. I believe we even talked about it on here before. I don't like it.
I'm fine with it if it's like a $20 season pass and it's got stuff in it that's like story related or whatever. But if it's multiplayer maps, I mean, every single multiplayer game that I know of now does free multiplayer maps. It's kind of a no-brainer, because if you release a new map and only certain people in the community have access to it, then that map doesn't get as much play, which means that the people who paid for it don't get to play as many matches in it, because there are other people who won't pay for it and they're just playing the standard maps where you're going to get more action. So it's unfair to the customers who buy it. It's unfair to the customers who don't buy it. It's just stupid. So just release your maps for free and everybody's happy, because then the people – here's the thing. Like I don't care if you're buying like appearance items. Like let's say they said, okay, well, you want to play a Gungan, then you have to pay us $5 for this Gungan DLC. I'm like, fine. As long as if I buy a Gungan DLC pack, it shows up in other people's games, which usually isn't a problem. So in other words, they don't have to buy it, but they do have to put up with the fact that I have a Gungan that I paid $5 for. That's perfectly fine. But if you're going to say, hey, let's put the Battle of Naboo in here, but you have to buy it, and if you don't buy it, you can't play the Battle of Naboo, then that's bullshit. So there's a difference there.
Well, yeah. There's what was I gonna say here? I got wrapped up in what you were saying and I lost track of myself. There's some other games that are coming out that I'm pretty excited for. I don't know if you are. Have you ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
No.
That is a damn shame. What in the hell are you doing?
Have you ever seen Rogue One?
Listen. Guardians of the Galaxy is years old.
Yeah. Well,
but
Rogue
anyway,
One's out, I'm just saying.
Telltale, the first episode of their Telltale game is coming out next week. No, not next week. Tomorrow. I'm really excited to get my hands on it. It's not an origin story, and it's coming out right before the second movie. So That's a game I'm really excited about. The
Yeah, but
Telltale
isn't
game.
it Telltale? I mean, aren't they kind of going downhill lately?
I mean, my only complaint with Telltale, they're still doing great storytelling. I have not had an issue with any of their games, except I thought they portrayed Batman poorly. Um, they portrayed him as more of like a what's the word I would use to describe Batman in the Batman game? He was like a bystander to everything. He wasn't
Hmm.
Batman. He felt like he had a very passive role in the universe. But other people feel differently. That's just how I felt. I didn't feel like I was Batman in the way that I wanted to. But I think Telltale's doing a great job with storytelling. It's just I'm paying a lot of money for not a lot of content now.
Well, that's what I'm
Now
saying.
I'm paying like the Michonne. The only thing that I think ever sucked from Telltale was the Michonne one. That game was fucking horrible. That was not fun for me. I was just angry that I spent so much money because each episode was like 45 minutes long. I was just like, why? Now, because I've been playing the new season of The Walking Dead, Telltale, they're still only like 2 hours long, but they're still doing a great job telling the story. They're just shorter, and I think they know they can get away with it because if you're a diehard fan, you're gonna buy it anyway. You're you're gonna. But they're going shorter, and but the stories are still good. So I don't have an issue with Telltale yet. I just hated one thing they made. I just wish they would go back to doing the 3 hour episodes, which everyone tells me were never a thing, but they were. They were each like 3 hours long in the original one, but not anymore. But I'm
Oh
really
yeah, and they
excited.
started off with Back to the Future. They had pretty lengthy episodes back then.
Yeah, I haven't even played that one. I haven't played that one or like Jurassic Park. Haven't done any of those yet.
Hmm.
But the days of Telltale giving you a lot of content is not going to happen anymore. $20 is going to get you about a 10-hour game.
And they'll do that as long as I can get away with it. That's
Absolutely. Which, good for them because they know we're going to buy it. Like I'm going to
honestly not good for them because that's hurting the industry. But they can do whatever they want. It makes me second guess buying their games, but whatever.
see, but if they keep making Walking Dead games, I'm going to keep buying them.
See,
I
and
can't say
see,
no.
here's the thing. But how is that any different than a low quality season pass? Like think of Telltale as just like a big game where you can buy these passes to play different stories in the same game because it's the same engine essentially. It's the same type of gameplay mechanics. It's just you get newer
Well,
stories.
yeah, but they take a long time for them to produce.
Well,
It's not
DLC
like
can take a long time to produce too.
yeah, I think it's different because I'm paying $20 for 5 episodes that are each like two
Well,
hours long. Whereas with
well, let
like
me
a
put this
DL
to you.
with a season pass, like you're paying $50, $60 for added content to a game that's supposedly already done. Twenty
Yeah, that's
dollars is a
true.
small
That's
tap to me.
okay, but using that argument, $20 for that Telltale game will get you about, let's see, how many episodes is that? Is that
They're
four or
five,
five
five.
now?
They're five.
Okay, that's five. So that's like 5 times 2 hours at best. So that's 10 hours of stuff for $20, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we agree on that. Let's take the Battlefront DLC. Now I didn't buy the DLC season pass when it was $50, but let's say that I did. Let's say that I spent $50 on this thing.
Okay.
Looking at how much time I've put into the game, I have gotten, let's see, out of the entire game, including, okay, let's just look at the DLC so far because I haven't had it for very long. But I've put in, I would say, at least anywhere from 15 to 20 hours so far. And I'm likely going to continue playing it. So my thing on this is about let's and keep in mind I didn't pay $50 for it either.
Yep.
I paid about the same as you would have paid for a Telltale game.
Mm.
And yet I'm getting more hours out of this game, or I will be getting more hours out of the game than I would out of a Telltale. So in this scenario, is the season pass worth it?
Well, in this specific scenario, I don't think it's fair to compare them.
Well, I mean, if we're looking at, money versus what we can get out of that money.
But these are two vastly different things.
Oh, yes, they
Because
are.
Star Wars it's a multiplayer game.
Oh, yes.
So I can't in good conscience compare the two because Telltales are very controlled linear narratives. There is a set end time to that universe, regardless.
And that's the other thing,
There's
is that
only so
it
much you
is
can
very
do.
linear. So if you play it twice, you're essentially getting the same story. They don't really have the branching paths that they kind of promised to have
No,
in those games.
it's going to be the
Um,
same no matter what you do.
yeah, it's not even a choose your own adventure style thing, which if it was, then I would be more impressed with it. Uh, in other words, if I played Walking Dead twice and got two completely different experiences, I would be like, awesome. But the truth is that game, while you do make choices here and there, those choices really don't matter.
Well, some of them do. There are decisions from the very first game that, as long as you keep your save file, they heavily resonate into where the game is now. So the decisions matter. At
Well,
least,
which decisions specifically?
okay. Any choice that you've ever made with Clementine over the course of the first 2 seasons, they show. And like,
Give me
depending.
an example.
Okay, so at the end of there's gonna be spoilers here. At the end of the
All right.
first game, the season 1, when Lee is giving her advice
Mm-hmm.
about how to live, the specific answers you choose greatly change her personality. And that shows in the second game, but it's like solidified in the third game because now she's hit an age where she really is going to start knowing who she is. She's becoming a young woman. She knows who she is now. And even the decision of whether you kill Lee or just leave greatly affects her later in the games. Picking or choosing whether certain people live or die. If those people live, they will greatly affect the game later on. If you kill them, you've
Well, hold
gotten
on.
rid of
Now,
that.
if you keep them alive, so to speak, they don't last very long.
It
I
depends, but they still change things that happen in the game. I would say now they've changed that in this new season to where when you make those decisions, I have felt, at least in this newest season, that my decisions actually matter a bit more in this game.
Well, I guess what I mean is like one of the very first decisions I remember making that seemed like it was going to have a huge impact was when you choose between those two people in that store, like which one you were going to keep and which one you weren't. Essentially, like there was one who you keep, one who you basically kill off. There was like an engineer guy, and I don't remember what the woman was. She was like a reporter or something like that.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
but regardless of who you pick, that character does not last long. It's not like that character goes on inside of the game and makes it all the way to the end and greatly impacts your experience. Usually they're just there for a brief little moment afterwards, and then they're gone. Because Telltale didn't want to invest the time into actually fleshing something like that early on in the game, a choice and decision like that. They didn't want to create two different branching paths that could have varying degrees of what does this mean and what does that mean. Whereas, it's hard to do that. Even BioWare struggled to do that in their trilogy Mass Effect, but I think they did a better job with it, even though they retcon everything.
Oh yeah.
Than
No, yeah, they did.
than in this 20-hour game. And this is the problem I have, is that they have a 20, or not even a 20-hour game, it's a 10-hour game. Okay, so you got a 10-hour game, and if they had made this a 20-hour game that was actually two 10-hour games, depending on how you chose to play it, that would have been one thing. But no, it's the same 10-hour game, minor differences here and there. Maybe a dialogue. Here's another one I remember. I remember as Clementine, they asked me, like, do you want to go over the bridge or do you want to stay here or something stupid like that? And my gut instinct was to do something, but I felt like everybody made that choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose to be a coward. And when I made that choice, they said, oh, well, we don't care. We're going to bring you with us anyway. And I was sitting here like, I think that was the moment when I realized I was breaking the game, because I realized this isn't really a choice. Most people pick this answer and they don't realize that this isn't a choice. You have to go regardless. So, I've had kind of a bad taste in my mouth with the Telltale ever since, but to each their own.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Telltale is I like to think they're turning around with this season of The Walking Dead, because I have found, at least from my own playthrough and then going and watching other people's after, that the difference in the decisions is pretty great. It creates a whole different environment in each area, and maybe they're learning how to do it right now. I don't know.
Well, but if that was true, then I feel like the content must be several hours longer. But I'm not really convinced it is, but you know what? I'll even be willing to give that one a chance. I would give Walking Dead season 3 a chance because I did play the other two. Um, but I have a feeling I'm not going to be impressed with it.
Yeah, I've liked it. They don't impress me, but I've liked it. I've liked the decisions a bit more than in the past, and I've seen some great differences depending on the choices you make. So who knows? Maybe this is just like a one-time thing, and they'll go back to it not mattering. But
I'll wait
um,
for like a Steam sale, get it for like $3 or
there will
something.
definitely be a sale. Um,
Because I don't want to spend that much money on it.
but there's a rumor going around
Oh boy.
about Quantic Dream.
Quantic Dream, okay.
Yep. They were there have been accounts found for two former scriptwriters who worked on multiple unannounced Quantic Dream projects.
Okay.
So these two people
Oh,
worked
hold on.
on what?
Before you go any further,
What?
it's just funny because I usually this is the type of story that usually breaks around. Like I think the same thing happened with Red Dead Redemption Part 2 recently, where they found the writers on LinkedIn or whatever who were working on a unannounced game or whatever. It's just it happens so often, but I look forward to hearing about this one. So go right ahead.
Yeah, so they worked on Beyond Two Souls and they worked on Detroit Become Human. And it is thought at this point that these two scriptwriters are working together now on something else that runs in the same vein as Quantic Dream's games and the style in which they do
Ooh.
things. So these two writers appear to be teaming up to possibly make a project of their own that would feel very much like a Quantic Dream game, since that is what they do. But there's been talk that there are two writers who have worked with Quantic Dream that are going to make their own project, which I would, I obviously don't have any eggs in this basket. I mean, it's a rumor. But it's a cool one. Like, I would really like to see more games that are like Quantic Dream games, because I really feel like that's my favorite kind of game. I could play those games over and over and over, and I just love them. And I would really like to see more people doing games like that and doing it right. So I'm excited at the idea of it.
I like that too. I like the that and Until Dawn and all of the games that are sort of like. In fact, I'm wondering what the Until Dawn developers are doing right now because I know they've got to be working on something new.
They had such a great success with that game. Like,
So
you have to imagine they're doing more. But I don't know. I would like to see more games that follow that kind of, I guess, like a choose your. I mean, it's not fully choose your own adventure because, it
no,
does have to
it's
follow a certain path, but I definitely did feel like in Quantic Dreams games and even in Until Dawn that my choices made a difference.
yeah, they definitely do a heck of a lot more so than in a Telltale game because like depending on how you I don't really know how to even describe the games either. They're sort of narrative
It's
focused, but at the
weird.
same time, they give you these open spaces to choose your time allotment. And I think it's really time allotment is how I'd best describe it because how you spend that time in that environment is going to affect the way that scene plays out. So if you spend it cleaning up your apartment so that it isn't a mess, it'll affect the narrative. Or if you are going back to the earlier games with like Fahrenheit, like, are you going to go try to hide the body that you of this
Yeah, are
person?
you going to get rid of the
And
knife? Are you going to clean up the blood? Like, what decisions are you going to make?
you're going to answer the door, or what are you going to do?
And there's
So
even,
it's like,
like, in Until Dawn, like, you can explore the entire house. And there's a lot you can miss in there. There's stuff that I've seen other people find that I've never found. And all of that affects the story. It affects, obviously affects the knowledge that your characters have, because if they don't find those things, they don't know that information. So they're less informed about what's happening. But the more information you give the characters, the more it changes things. Because there's apparently a way in Until Dawn to save Josh at the end.
yeah, there is.
And it's not easy to do, apparently.
No.
But I could be wrong here. I believe it does have something to do with finding everything.
Yeah, you have to find, I think, a lot of those collectible things. Like, I don't know if it was an owl type thing that you're looking
You
for,
talk
like
about
these,
those totem poles that kind of
yeah, stuff like
predict what's
that.
going to happen. They tell you things that could happen.
Yeah, you've got to like find a lot of collecting items, sort of like how with Jess, for instance, in order to save Jess, you just have to make sure that you don't miss any of your prompts when you're trying to go save her, because if
Well,
you
you also need to, if you end up getting her in the tunnels and you end up being Matt, I think. If you're with her with Matt, if you choose to run instead of hide in the tunnels, she can't keep up, so she'll die that way too, because she's
yeah.
all messed up and hurt.
Yeah, and I think Josh is the hardest one to save. Then Jess would be a close second because Jess, it's just a matter of making those right decisions and hitting those prompts in
You
time.
don't find Sam to be difficult at the end?
Who's Sam?
Sam. She's like the good girl. She's friends with everybody. Blonde. She's in the bathtub.
Blonde in the
She
bathtub?
walks
What?
around in a towel for a while.
Are you talking about like the one who they kind of make as the lead protagonist?
Yes, that's Sam.
No, she was easy to save.
I had a really hard. My first playthrough, I was fine. After that, because there's instances in that game where you have to hold the controller completely steady.
Okay, like at the very
The
end.
very end, I can't save her 90% of the time.
Really?
I don't know
No,
what
I didn't
it's
have a
one of the
problem.
times when those Wendigos get right up in your goddamn face and I can't do it. I also love that that game makes it so that like when you're playing as Chris and you're running with the stranger to outrun the Wendigos and you're trying to get back in the house, if you like tried to fuck over Ashley and kill her earlier in the game, she'll just stand there at the door and watch you get eaten.
Yep.
She will not let you in that goddamn house. And I'm like, well, god damn it, Ashley.
I didn't have that problem though. I played him very differently than I think you did.
Well, my first playthrough was really weird. And then like I tried playing the game a different way, and then I tried to play it just to see if I could make everyone live. Cuz you can kill everybody in that game.
Yeah,
You can make it so nobody gets out of there alive.
it's pretty easy to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to let everyone die, which I've never done. I mean, I wouldn't really get much enjoyment out of that because, you know, it's probably just ends. I mean, there's probably an ending, but I don't care to see it. I just think it's interesting that the game really, like even in those moments where you had where you're meeting with the psychiatrist, those answers affect the game too. They affect how things happen, things that you see. I just wish there was more games that were narrative driven, and but also gave you the freedom to have a more immersive story and to, you know, where you can create these moments where your characters know different things and you can do different things to change outcomes, but like you don't know that you're doing that until after it's happened.
Well,
Like
I
you're
think
just
the good thing about that kind of game, like Until Dawn or Quantic Dream or whatever, is that you are always on your toes because you have the knowledge in your mind that any character at any time could die if you screw up, and if that happens, there's no reset. Like
oh no,
you
you're
just
done.
go on through it, and so you always have that knowledge that at any point one of these characters could die, but it's always going to be based on how you play the game, and there are certain characters that you're going to be more attached to than others, and so I found that I was very nervous whenever I was playing certain scenes with characters I actually liked,
Yeah.
as opposed to the ones I didn't really care about. I was a little bit more relaxed in those because like I don't really care if these people make it
Oh
out.
my god.
But
Who didn't you
yeah,
care about?
I don't remember. It's been like 2 years since I
Oh
played that
god.
game.
Mike was my baby. Kept him alive always.
But yeah, it was. But that's how I remember it. Is that, and the same thing with Quantic Dream is that you're always on your toes because you know that those characters can die, and if they're dead, then they don't come back. It's not like you reload your save and you keep going. No, I mean you just keep playing the game, as if that was supposed to happen. And that I think is what stands it out, and that's what I think makes it more enjoyable and more tension, more tense, because at any point somebody could be dead for good.
Yeah, and I found even playing Quantic Dream games, I made a concerted effort this last time I played Beyond Two Souls to make the opposite decisions. The last time I had played, I did all opposite decisions, and it was a vastly different game, and that was awesome for me. I was like, wow. I was like, I've never seen any of this. I had the same thing replaying the Mass Effect trilogy, though. I played as a character that did very specific things, and I saw a very different game come out of it. I was like, I had a very different experience this time. Like, I found this past Mass Effect playthrough I did was much more emotional for me, and it was a lot harder for me to play through because I was just like so hurt by the decisions I was making. I was like, ouch, this is bad. Ooh, sorry. But I just like games that give me that freedom that I can play the game and then have my friend go, "Wait, you had this happen? Well, I had this happen." And like see that you're all playing the same game but having such an amazingly different experience, and you can share that with other people. I just want more of it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get more of it. Whew.
But we're past our mark here.
Yes, we are.
We're back, people. We're not leaving again. It was just, shit. Internet, weather, tornadoes. You can't do a podcast through a tornado, guys. All right?
You can try.
You can try, but it's probably not safe. But we're here now. We're back. Hello. That's all we have for you this week. You can email us at theprattlecast@gmail.com. You can leave us a message at speakpipe.com/theprattlecast. We stream together on Twitch every week. This week is what, Friday? Yes, Friday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And is it 5 p.m. Mountain Time? Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's
I
7
don't
p.m.
live
your
my
time,
life
right?
in Mountain Time. Yeah, that's about right.
All right. Listen, it's been a while since I've said this. But we stream together every week. We're currently playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but it's been crazy and old. It's an old game, so we're between that and Resident Evil 5 right now. So you can check us out on Twitch. Our names there are Shakezilla TV and Razzle_Dazzles. We can also find us on Twitter under the very same names. We have a Twitter account for the Prattlecast, and it is simply the Prattlecast. Episodes are uploaded to YouTube every week. We have a Patreon account that you can donate to. It's been reworked and changed around, so it makes a little bit more sense. So you can go on Patreon and donate. It helps the streams. It helps the podcast. It helps everybody. Makes everything better for everybody. I think that's all I got. I think I got everything here. We will see you next week. Until then, be nice to each other.